All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to get into something pretty fundamental. Not what you think, but how you think. It's like we're turning the lens inward to look at the actual architecture of our own minds.
So just think about this for a second. What if you could actually pull out a blueprint, a detailed architectural plan of your own mind? What would you even see on it? And more importantly, what would you want to change? What would you reinforce? Or maybe even redesign completely? That's really the big question we're tackling here.
So here's the deal. The whole idea here is that you don't have to just be a passenger inside your own head. You can actually be the chief architect. And over the next few minutes, we're going to give you the mental models to do just that, to really understand and start directing your own thinking. Okay, so our journey starts with a pretty huge shift in how we look at things. We're going to move away from thinking of our thoughts as something that just happens to us, like bad weather. Instead, we'll start seeing it as a process that we can actually, consciously, and deliberately steer. So what are we even talking about when we say thought? I mean, at its heart, it's an active thing. It's an internal process. Check out those verbs: representing, transforming, evaluating. Thinking isn't just about information coming in. Nope, it's you actively building your version of reality.
And this is where it gets really interesting. We all have that background chatter, that automatic stream of thoughts, but intellectual agency, that's the moment you decide to step in and grab the steering wheel. It's the difference between just floating down the river and actually deciding where the boat is going to go.
All right, let's look at the first big piece of this mental architecture. Think of it as the generation engine. This is the part of your mind that cooks up new ideas, that dreams up all the what-ifs, that literally expands the map of what you think is possible.
We often think of creativity as this magical flash of lightning, but it's actually a process. It all starts with a question. That's what turns "I don't know" into an active search. That search is fueled by what's called divergent thinking. And the result? A brand new idea, a solid, coherent unit of meaning. This is what divergent thinking is all about. It's your mind in full-on blue sky mode. It's not about nailing down the one right answer. It's about generating a ton of possibilities. You're making these wild, associative leaps. You're not afraid of ambiguity. In fact, you see it as an opportunity. You're just exploring without shutting things down too early.
Okay, but a mind that only creates possibilities would be, lost in the clouds, right? Pure fantasy. So you need a balance. You need the counterpart. And that brings us to the second major part of our mental architecture, the reality check. This is the part that brings some rigor and structure to all that creativity.
And here's that balance in a nutshell. If divergent thinking is all about asking, what if, evaluation comes in and asks, okay, but is this true? One is about expanding, the other is about assessing. One generates wild new ideas, the other makes sure they actually make sense. A really healthy mind is constantly dancing between these two.
I really love this quote. It's such a great way to think about it. Evaluation isn't this mean, negative thing. It's your mind's immune system. It's what protects your epistemic integrity, which is just a fancy way of saying it. It makes sure your beliefs are actually grounded in reality. It filters out the errors, the biases, all the nonsense.
So how does this immune system actually work? Well, it's got a pretty powerful toolkit. It uses logic, which is basically the grammar of thinking straight. It forms a hypothesis, which is how you turn a simple curiosity into something you can actually test. And then it runs an experiment, the ultimate showdown between your idea and the real world.
All right, so we've got the two big systems, the idea generator and the reality checker. Now let's zoom in a little closer and look at the fundamental building blocks that make all of this work. Let's open up the Thinker's Toolkit.
So we basically think in two main modes. You've got abstract thought. This is when you're thinking about big ideas, right? Like justice or love or the future. Then you've got concrete thought. This is about what's literally right in front of you. This coffee cup, this to-do list, this conversation. And the most effective thinkers, they're the ones who can dance between the two, from the big picture down to the nitty-gritty details, just like that. And this is so important to remember. We don't just think in words. Of course, our verbal channel is great. It gives us precision, helps us work with others. But our nonverbal channel, that's thinking in images, in feelings, in gut intuition. That's often where the real creative breakthroughs happen, way before we even have the words to describe them.
And what's holding this whole structure up? Memory. It's like the foundation of the whole building. It's the library where you store everything you've learned. It's what allows you to build expertise. But, and this is a big but, we have to remember it's not a perfect video recording. It can distort things, it can change the past on us.
Okay, so we've taken the grand tour of the architecture. We've seen the idea factory, the quality control department, and the basic toolkit. Now we get to the really exciting part. How do we use all this to actually start redesigning our own minds?
The secret, really, is to find your key thoughts. Think of these like the main load-bearing walls in the architecture of your mind. They're the core root assumptions that everything else is built on top of. And the amazing thing is, if you can change just one of these key thoughts, the whole structure can shift.
So how do you challenge those key thoughts? Here's a really powerful tool for it. It's called zero-based thinking. It's basically a mental reset button. You just ask yourself, okay, if I were starting completely from scratch today, knowing what I know now, would I still make this choice? Would I still believe this? It's a way to break free from old baggage and sunk costs, and it can open your eyes to options you wrote off ages ago.
And this is the whole point, right? The goal is to move away from just running on autopilot on old, habitual thought patterns. We want to develop an adaptive intelligence, one that can create new paths, respond to new information, and not just keep repeating the same old programming.
And this quote just ties it all together perfectly. Our inner world, all our beliefs, our mental models, that's the blueprint that ends up designing the outer world we live in. So when you get the power to redesign that inner architecture, you literally gain the power to shape your own reality.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you have a kind of blueprint, a new way to see the structure of your own mind, what's the first renovation project you're going to tackle? What's the first key thought you're going to put under the microscope? What part of your inner architecture will you redesign first?